Welcome to Storytime, brought to you by the OWSCyCon2019, the online book event of the year. The Vega parked over Mars' northern pole, a small pleasure craft attached to one of its docking pods. Occasionally the shuttle clanged against the Vega. The other docking pod was exposed but empty. The little woman sitting at the table, packed in makeup like a parody of a Hollywood star, seemed much smaller than he remembered. "You look good, Ma. It's nice to see you again." She nodded, but said nothing. Her shuttle clanged and she stood up. "Don't worry, Ma. My docking collars lost their smarts a while back and I haven't had a chance to repair them. It's nothing. Now, are you sure I can't get you anything to eat? Maybe something to drink? I can make some coffee, no problem." She looked around. I didn't think a ship this small would have a kitchen. Normally it wouldn't, but there are some things I wouldn't give up. The smell of fresh brewed coffee first thing in the morning, for one. Yes, coffee would be nice. She looked up as some lights winked on a panel beside her. "This is a scimitar ship. It's awfully small." "Scimitar class. You can't be too big when you're moving between asteroids. Just lots of power for scything and towing. Lots of facility and equipment for artifact extraction, and lots of smarts to know when to do one or the other." You look good," she offered, her eyes moving from panel to panel in the small cabin. "Yeah, thanks." He let it hang for a few moments. "So, what's this all about?" "Your father and I are getting a divorce." "All right, it's about that goddamn time." His mother started crying and he concentrated on the smell of the freshly brewed coffee, waiting until her tears passed. "Let me guess. This is Pa's idea, right?" She pulled out a handkerchief and nodded as she wiped her eyes. "We're fighting over the settlement." "So these impromptu calls from you and the old man are for what? Visitation rights?" He laughed, but there wasn't any humour in his voice. "Neither of you so much as sent me a birthday card in 12 years, and now I get 2 calls in 2 days. Come into Mars North Polar, family emergency." "What am I going to do? I've always done whatever your father said. He always said he knew what was best." He didn't answer at first, gauging his own emotions, wondering if he should let his feelings out. "You believe he always knew what was best?" She nodded. "For you?" She continued to nod, sobbing into her handkerchief. "What about for me?" "What? What do you mean, for you?" "Look at me, Ma," he raged. "You think this is the best for me?" "He's your father," she screamed back. "He didn't know what he was doing." "First, neither you nor Pa know what a father is. As far as I'm concerned, my father is E.J. Ørsted down at Spaceflight Systems. He got me this job. He took care of me. He nursed me back to health after that bastard you call a husband beat me so bad." He waited until his voice calmed before he continued. "Second, even if he didn't know what he was doing, you sure in hell did. Or are you going to tell me you thought it was normal for fathers to beat their sons to the point where they bled? Their legs were broken, their faces smashed?" "I didn't know," she wailed, tucking herself into her chair. "You didn't know?" he laughed. "You stood there and watched. Every fucking time you watched. I remember you standing at the door to my room and pleading with him to stop, but doing the same thing you're doing now. I was scared." "Here's your coffee." She took a sip and made a sour face. "God, that's strong." "You're welcome. I don't have a lot of guests. The kitchen needs a new servo anyway." "Son," she said, staring into her cup, "whatever you think of your father, whatever you think of me, we were a family. We may not always have been the best family, but we were a family. You had it bad, but so did we." "That's not an excuse, Ma. If you didn't like what happened to you as a kid, you go talk to your parents about it. And I don't know what you call a family, but what I had wasn't a family. It was a concentration camp. You always in the kitchen and him always in the garage. You don't need a son, you needed a mediator. I always wanted a family. I never had one. You're going to tell me now I still might?" "I never will, Ma. Never." An alarm sounded. "That's Pa coming to tell me his side of life. Don't worry. I don't take sides. I can't. All I can do now is see to my own needs and wants." Her pleasure shuttle clanged against the Vega again. "As soon as I get around to them, anyway. You're going to stay or leave before he gets here?" She looked around for a sink. Her cup was still full of coffee and ringed with lipstick marks. "Don't worry, Ma. I'll take care of that." She nodded and placed a folded paper with a Space Court jurisdictional seal under the cup. "Goodbye, son." "What's that?" "A claim. A subpoena with writ to a claim." "A what?" he screamed. "A subpoena? How the hell am I going to appear in court?" She had her back to him, straightening her dress and clutching her bag tightly to her. "You don't have to appear. It says you're my property. Your father threatened to lay claim to you when we found out how much you made as a scimitar. I told my lawyer to lay claim first to make sure your father didn't get a cent. He'll probably lay claim too. There was silence as she moved towards her ship. Then, "Don't worry, son. I'll take care of you." His mother's shuttle disengaged from the docking collar. He watched through camera eyes as she made a wide berth on the far side of him from her husband. His father called on an open channel. "Hey son, those docking collars look damn sloppy. Is it safe for me to come over there?" He closed the communications to his mother and father and watched them continue their dance, one toward and the other away, and him always in the middle. "I will never have a family. I'll never have a family I wanted." Part of the system which allowed him to see to his own needs briefly fired, and he registered the change in potential as "the hell I won't." As his mother's ship started to fall planetside, the Vega's caterpillars engaged, holding both shuttles in toroidal plasma arms. Scything lasers began to carve out pieces of the ships. Alarm calls pinged from both shuttles. He hummed through the comm as his lasers sliced their communications pods before they could signal planetside. Steadily, his lasers moved towards their passenger bays, at which point needle-thin lasers made their cuts slowly, delicately, almost tenderly. In a few moments, his parents' bodies, bloated and ruptured, were drawn into the forward observation bay. "They gave me the knowledge to be self-repairing, so let's see how much I can repair." Waldo's rolled the bodies over a few times as he scanned memory, calling up anatomy, neurophysiology, and neurotopography charts. Satisfied, his manipulator arms and lasers went to work. The frozen space high above Mars's northern pole made the work easy, keeping tissue in stasis as he adjusted cameras and lasers and manipulators, and Waldo's to do the sensitive work of removing the necessary brain functions, only the necessary ones, and wiring them into the kitchen and docking subsystems. Memories? Some. Definitely need motor skills. Some sensory input. Yeah, that's good. 2 hours later, he began reheating the kitchen servo and docking port controls. "Ma? Pa? Can you hear me?" Her voice sounded from the kitchen servos. "Yes, son. What can I do for my wonderful boy?" The docking ports moved silently for a moment, then answered in his father's voice. "Huh? Sorry, son. I guess I was napping. Beautiful day, huh? Would you say the three of us go on a picnic?" The scimitar broke out of Mars's north polar orbit. "Sure, let's." This story time was read by Timothy Bateson and brought to you in conjunction with the OWSCyCon 2019. OWSCyCon runs from May 17th through May 19th. You can find us at OWSCyCon.ourrightside.com. Again, OWSCyCon.ourrightside.com. We have events happening across all genres. If you are a reader, you cannot afford to miss this event. You never know. You may just find your next best read.